Dave Richards, still here on Sports Talk Chicago. Dave, a few more questions before we finish up. First off, how do I win my fantasy league this year?
Okay, so it's almost the same story every year. Like the basic tenets of fantasy football remain the same. You draft good players. No, I mean, there's more to it than that, obviously, John. But I think this year when you draft, you will see that receiver is really deep. I mean, there are some really great names at wide receiver that you will see fall to you in rounds 4, 5, 6. I got DeAndre Hopkins, and we did a mock draft. We're sick at CBS Sports. We did a mock draft on Tuesday, and I got DeAndre Hopkins with the first pick in round 3. I got David Montgomery with the last pick in round 4, and Dameon Pierce with the first pick in round 5. I think we're going to look and see that it's a deeper year than normal. Certainly across certainly a wide receiver, probably a running back, probably a quarterback. Not even close to tight end. It's not going to be deep there. But I think that the first thing you can do this year, as far as winning your fantasy league, is don't put your foot on the gas at wide receiver, and that you might want to kind of slowly build your wide receiver group up, which means you're probably going to spend one of your first 2 or 3 picks on a running back. And I think that makes sense. We're running out of running backs that are going to get more than 15 touches per game. So you've got to fall back on running backs that might get 12 touches per game and have a shot to score. That's where David Montgomery is living now in Detroit. I don't expect him to go and be an absolute workhorse for the Lions, but I think, he can pick up a lot of that role that Jamal Williams had last year when Williams led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Now that could fall on David Montgomery's shoulders. And Dan Campbell apparently has loved David Montgomery for many, many years. There is some footage of him just absolutely going gaga over David Montgomery while he was with the Bears. Now he's with the Lions. That makes me encouraged to take David Montgomery, like I said, with that round 4 pick. And he might end up going sooner than that by the time we get to August. The other thing I would tell you to do is you're going to look for a quarterback and try to get just a fair value. I'm using the word fair, not in terms of you got to get a great value on a quarterback. You got to steal one in your draft. Just wait for a quarterback and then take one in round 10. But you also don't want to take one early because that would not make it fair. If you've gone to a flea market and you've negotiated with people over an item at the flea market, sometimes you want to just get a steal of a deal. And sometimes if it's something you really want, you'll be satisfied when it's a fair deal. And I think looking for a quarterback at a fair price in fantasy this year, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in late round 2, Jalen Hurts in late round 2, early round 3, Burrow or Justin Fields in round 4 or 5, those feel like fair deals to me. Now, if you're in a league where quarterbacks are going to go early and you're going to expect Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to go in round 1, if it's a 1 quarterback league, let it go. You're going to be able to find a fair value later on. But that should be your focus with quarterback this year. Fair value there. I would not go crazy on running backs this year. I would be a little more selective than normal on wide receivers. And tight ends, there's not going to be that many great tight ends to go around. You may want to consider Travis Kelce with your first round pick. It will probably work out for you because it's worked out for people who have taken Kelce like each of the last 5 or 6 years. He's been outstanding.
Dave, before we finish up today, last question. What's the best fantasy draft you've ever had?
The best fantasy draft I've ever had. Okay, I don't know if I can name exactly which draft it was, but not every draft I'm in is with other fantasy analysts. And there are years where I'm playing in fantasy leagues for serious stakes with college buddies or random strangers or coworkers in my office where I'm playing against, like secretaries and people who are, they work for CBS's sales department or product development department. They're not doing what I'm doing. And I'll walk out of those drafts and I'll say, I crushed it. I got every player I wanted. I stole players from everybody. I'll feel great about it. You know where I finish in those leagues, John?
Where?
Like 9th place. It never fails. I'll walk out of those drafts where I'm playing against, casuals, And it's not that necessarily that I blow it in the draft, but players get hurt and I lose out on the waiver wire to other players that go to the casuals teams. And there's nothing I can do about it eventually. And the casuals can win out. I tend to fare better in the leagues where I'm playing against people who think they know what they're doing and they almost outsmart themselves. Every year I go to a fantasy draft. This might make people jealous. I draft at the Hall of Fame in Canton, and I'm there with other fantasy analysts from all the other sites out there, and we do 2 drafts together. And one's a draft and one's an auction, and we have 14 of us in each league and very deep rosters, and we take it very seriously. And I walk out of those drafts every year thinking, I got this in the bag, and I'm competitive in those leagues, and I make the playoffs a frequent amount of time. Last year, first time I won the league playing against them. But it's not that I'm playing against patsies. I'm playing against guys like me who know what they're doing every step of the way. They've got a lot of the same information that I've got. Maybe not all the information that I've got, but a lot of the information and insight that I've got. And on top of that, they can see my rankings. My rankings are out there in public. You know, if you're drafting with me, you'll know exactly who I'm going to take when I'm up every single time because my rankings say so. And I find a way to stay competitive in those leagues. But when I'm playing against secretaries and sales department people, somehow I get folded in half.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining me. So generous with your time. Great insight tonight on the Bears, NFL news, and everything in between. Looking forward to staying in touch and having you on again soon, hopefully around NFL season, and always appreciate your time.
We will get it done, and I know when I want the latest skinny on the Bears to tune into you, John, and to hear what you have to say, and I look forward to doing that as well.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in here tonight on Sports Talk Chicago. Big thank you again to Dave Richard for joining us. Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook at Sports Talk Chicago. Find me at Jon Z Sports. Find Dave Richard at Dave Richard over on Twitter as well. Support our great sponsor, Amish Country Farms, for the best Amish food in all of Chicagoland. Hit them up today in Orland Park. And tell them Sports Talk Chicago sent you. For John Meadows, directing and producing, I'm Jon Zaghloul. We will see you on Sunday. So long, everybody.